Waiting for the foghorn. There we go. And I am going to mute everyone, and you will be able to unmute at the appropriate time. Did you start your recorder, Trish?
I did.
Okay, very good.
Good evening. Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website and podcast. We record in audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your big book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so you can follow along. In accordance with our group conscience on October 16th, we will also be posting our podcast on YouTube. We feel this is an effective way to carry our message to those seeking recovery in Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh, you put that whole tonight's recap thing in there.
I got it. Our tonight's recap will start on page 1 and will end on page 3. And our study tonight will begin on page 3 and will be ending on page 5.
Very, very good. Thank you, Trish. And the only announcement that I have for you is that next week on the 10th, 11th, and 12th that I will be going to Area 64 Assembly. It's a voting assembly, this assembly for the changing of officers in Area 64. And I will be going to represent this group. I'd like to welcome anyone who's joining us for the first time tonight, and we are glad to have you. And if you like what we have to offer here at Primary Purpose and you would like to become a home group member, we would love to have you. And that gives you a chance to participate in the other things that we do. So, you want to take this one or you want me to, Trish? I don't care. We've swapped it all around.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a recovered alcoholic, and my name is Trish. Welcome to the Lewisburg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of silent meditation, followed by our family's foglight prayer.
And my name is Jamie. I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted and sharing, as to not distract others or yourself. We suggest we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. And a friendly reminder, absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share. We will call on you in the order that hands are raised.
From the forward to the... Whoops.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay. From the forward to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, we of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body to show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered. This is the main purpose of this book and of this group. I'm not used to the new script yet.
For the meditation, some suggestions are focus on your breath and posture, breathe in God, and breathe out self.
And take this time to reconnect with God. Let the craziness of the day drift away and ask God to help you focus on the study. And let's bring those cute little monks in and let them do what they do. Enjoy your time with God, folks. Thank you. And if you'd like to, please join us in our family's Foglight prayer. It is on your screen in front of you. God, let your love shine through us like a fog light, so that those that are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
And let's have our secretary's report.
Hi, my name is Nicole, and I'm your recovered alcoholic secretary. I've asked Alyssa Pinky to read the recovery statement. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Alyssa.
Alyssa, recovered alcoholic. Recovered. We are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered, but not cured. That presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergic reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime. But we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than his body. Age 23. We are now sane where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered.
Alyssa, I think you need to drop your boom next time. Oh, okay. Or adjust your volume next time. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cage, where we chat for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzers. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously. Because of this, chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only elements to sobriety were God, a Big Book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the forward to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX, of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapse, and the remainder, those who stayed on with AA, showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time?
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you. I can't see. And those new to AA? And then the recovered alcoholics. These are your potential sponsors. Is anyone celebrating a milestone this week?
Mine is Brian. I'm an alcoholic. I'm in my first 30 days. I'm 19 days in. So.
Welcome, Brian.
Welcome. Glad to have you, Brian.
If you should require a Big Book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you by buzzer mail. Delivery time questionable. Please remember to practice our 7th tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo, or PayPal posted in the chat and on the screen. Our suggestion is to purchase a Big Book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website posted in the chat. Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, Pinky, for your service. Is it your turn or mine?
Well, if we're switching, it's your turn.
Okay, thank you. Actually, we're right back to where we normally are somehow, so it's all good. From chapter 2, there is a solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
Before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed Tradition 9. Tonight, let's take a quick look at Tradition 10. Please refer to page 562 of our book, Alcoholics Anonymous. Come on in, Xavier.
Good evening, family. Xavier, recovered alcoholic. All right, so Tradition 10, the short form says, Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues. Hence, the AA name ought to never be drawn in public controversy. The long form says, no AA group or member should ever in such a way as to implicate AA, express any opinion outside controversial issues, particularly those of politics, alcohol reform, or sectarian religion. The Alcoholics Anonymous groups oppose no one. Concerning such matters, they can express no views whatever. Reading through the 12 by 12 in Tradition 10, it talked about the early days of AA and brought up a good example of the Washingtonians, which were also started out as a group of, recovered alcoholics. And what the Washingtonians, it noted that the Washingtonians brought outside issues like abolitionists and, slavery and things of that nature. And what quickly happened is a group broke up when they brought outside issues. And they mixed that up with, recovering from alcoholism. Tradition 10 seems to make pretty clear that AA has no stance on outside issues. That AA as a whole has no opinion on Israel. AA as a whole has no opinion on Palestine. AA as a whole has no opinion on Trump. AA as a whole has no opinion on Biden. AA as a whole has no opinion on socialism. AA as a whole has no opinion on capitalism. AA as a whole has no opinion on wokeness. AA as a whole has no opinion on non-wokeness. Fox News, MSNBC, AA as a whole has no opinion. Now my experience, myself, I have opinions on some of those things. So the question is, and it talks about in the long form, that no member should affiliate AA with outside issues. Because AA has no opinion on these outside issues. Its main purpose, and it talks about that in other traditions, is recovery of alcoholism. So my experience is where that gray comes in. And what I've specifically seen is, I think of a couple of examples. I remember one gentleman, I was in a vehicle, after, outside of a meeting with a bunch of people that happened to be in the program, and there was a lot of controversial talk about, I think this time was the Constitution, and I noticed a newcomer was getting really upset because they had a differing opinion than other people. And I thought to myself, why are we harping on the Constitution when we could be helpful? Because this poor young man we might be ruining our chances of being helpful because we're harping on an outside issue that people might feel strongly about. I've seen, especially with politics, more recently, I've seen politics really, really, really get in, almost become strong issues, specifically, in fellowship, in the meeting after the meeting, and going to restaurants. And I've seen people that have really been, you could call pillars of our local community here in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, in Alcoholics Anonymous, push a lot of other people away from them because they couldn't stop talking about politics. If they weren't in a meeting, they were going to talk about politics. And in my opinion, I feel like you can really push people away and prevent yourself almost being of service and being useful if you really harp on a lot of issues when it might not be appropriate. So I'm not sure that's specifically what their tradition says, because it also notes in 12 by 12, like we all have strong, or a lot of people in AA have strong opinions. However, am I, as a member of AA who wants to help the ever-suffering alcoholic, who wants to make sure that I'm available, are there times where it might not be appropriate for me to talk about outside issues when I could be putting myself in a situation where I can't be in a position then to help others? You know, are there times where I should really keep my mouth shut? And of course, the opposite. There are times where maybe it's very appropriate for me to talk about these outside issues. So just something I've experienced in my own, circles, and I've thought a lot about Tradition 10 in the past. Lastly, I'll note that just logically, I love the fact that AA stays out of outside issues and we remain very, very simple and very, very focused to really carry the message to the ever-suffering alcoholic. And as far as the rest of the world, good, bad, that's on the outside. And I feel like AA is a really safe place where I can stay focused on the message, stay focused on helping others. Without this program, people like me die. We die quickly. So that's really what needs to last. And I'm very grateful for this tradition. That's all I got. Thanks for letting me share and letting me be of service. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Xavier. Well done, and some great examples of things that AA has no opinion on. Absolutely. And now it's time for our weekly segment of That Ain't in the Book. And we hear a lot of stuff said in meetings, folks, that can't be reconciled with the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And one of those things that we hear people say all the time is there are no musts in the book. Renovation Pickle is going to come in and tell us what that has to say on page 120 in the second paragraph. You'll have to unmute though, my friend.
Hi, my name's Tammy. I'm an alcoholic. Page 120. He must redouble his spiritual activities if he expects to survive.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your service tonight. We are very, very grateful.
As we study, please make use of the pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
Yep. My pen cup floweth over. In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book Study Guide prepared by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight we're going to start our recap on page 1, which will be read tonight, I think, by Cindy. I was out of the room. Oh, by Terry. Okay. Followed by our study portion, which I believe will be read by Art.
You would be correct on all of those things. After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting back where Art begins to read tonight. And the answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply one sentence answers split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is we're going to read the material once through, then dissect the information a second time using the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us a new light in which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we have completed the study, we are open up for comment, questions, and observations based on what we just read. And if you've had spiritual experiences with this information, please, by all means, feel free to share. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you'll hear a timer. Or we'll just let you know one way or another. Or we might not let you know and just let you keep adding to the list ad infinitum.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, for example, with a sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of our co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group.
And before we get started, let's take a look at how we got to this point. Because we didn't just randomly open up the book tonight and say, hey, this is what we're going to study. The study, or this group started, and this meeting started in Jamie's living room in January of 2020 as an in-person meeting. And then after closing down for COVID, when they reopened first as a hybrid meeting, and then it slowly changed into a 100% Zoom meeting. And we work through the entire book from the cover page all the way to page 164, and we study and read it line by line. We also read Dr. Bob's Nightmare and the Traditions. And within the study, we visit the spiritual experience in the appendix 3 times. And we also visit that one more time, a 4th time, as a study all on its own, so we can concentrate just on what that means to us. So in all, it's a 94-week study, and we are this week in week number 10 of year or season number 3. So we've been at this for a while, but every time we go through the book, I'm finding new things.
Actually getting ready to start our 4th year. We will need about 5 hands raised to be question answers, and we have some people who know how to do this, so please, by all means, feel free to raise your hands. And if you're new and you'd like to give it a shot, we're just going to ask the question, and you can follow along. It's just going to be right after, no imaginary answers. Everything's going to come right out of the book, so feel free to give it a shot. And I do have one announcement that I forgot to make earlier. Next week, we have our 4-step workshop coming up next Monday night. Trisha's already posted it in the chat. Please come join us. For anybody who is needing to do a 4-step, or if you're working with somebody that needs to do a 4-step, it is a great, great resource. So, and Pickle Chips, take it away.
I'm Pickle Chips, your recovered alcoholic. Gonna read the recap. Chapter 1, Bill's story. War fever ran high in the New England town to which we new young officers from Plattsburgh were assigned, and we were flattered when the first citizens took us to their homes, making us feel heroic. Here was love, applause, war, moments sublime with intervals hilarious. I was part of life at last. And in the midst of the excitement, I discovered liquor. I forgot the strong warnings and the prejudices of my people concerning drink. In time, we sailed for over there. I was very lonely and again turned to alcohol. We landed in England. I visited Winchester Cathedral. Much moved, I wandered inside. My attention was caught by a doggerel on an old tombstone. Here lies a Hampshire grenadier who caught his death drinking cold small beer. A good soldier is ne'er forgot, whether he dieth by musket or by pot. Ominous warning which I failed to heed. 22 and a veteran of foreign wars, I went home at last. I fancied myself a leader. For had not the men of my battery given me a special token of appreciation? My talent for leadership, I imagine, would place me at the head of vast enterprises which I could manage with utmost assurance. I took a night law course and obtained employment as investigator for a surety company. The drive for success was on. I'd proved to the world I was important. My work took me about Wall Street, and little by little I became interested in the market. Many people lost money, but some became very rich. Why not I? I studied economics and business as well as law. Potential alcoholic that I was, I nearly failed my law course. At one of the finals, I was too drunk to think or write. Though my drinking was not yet continuous, it disturbed my wife. We had long talks when I would still her forebodings by telling her that men of genius conceived their best projects when drunk, that the most majestic constructions of philosophic thought were so derived. By the time I had completed the course, I knew the law was not for me. The inviting maelstrom of Wall Street had me in its grip. Business and financial leaders were my heroes. Out of this alloy of drink and speculation, I commenced to form the weapon that would one day turn in its flight like a boomerang and all but cut me to ribbons. Living modestly, my wife and I saved $1,000. It went into certain securities, then cheap and rather unpopular. I rightly imagined that they would someday have a great rise. I failed to persuade my broker friends to send me out looking over factories and managements, but my wife and I decided to go anyway. I developed a theory that most people lost in stocks through ignorance of markets. I discovered many more reasons later on. We gave up our positions and off we roared on a motorcycle, the sidecar stuffed with a tent, blankets, a change of clothes, and 3 huge volumes of financial reference service. Our friends thought a lunacy commission should be appointed. Perhaps they were right. I had some success at speculation, so we had a little money. But we once worked on a farm for a month to avoid drawing on our small capital. That was the last honest manual labor on my part for many a day. We covered the whole eastern United States in a year. At the end of it, my reports to Wall Street procured me a position there and the use of a large expense account. The exercise of an option brought in more money, leaving us with a profit of several $1,000s for that year. For the next few years, fortune threw money and applause my way. I had arrived. My judgment and ideas were followed by many, to the tune of paper millions. The great boom of the late 20s was seething and swelling. Drink was taking an important and exhilarating part in my life. There was loud talk in the jazz places uptown. Everyone spent in thousands and chattered in millions. Scoffers could scoff and be damned. I made a host of fair weather friends. Take it away, Art.
Thank you, Terry. You're muted, Art.
Thank you. My name is Art. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. My drinking assured more serious proportions soon, continuing all day and almost every night. The remonstrances of my friends terminated in a row, and I became a lone wolf. There were many unhappy scenes in our sumptuous apartment. There had been no real infidelity, for loyalty to my wife, helped at times by extreme drunkenness, kept me out of those scrapes. In 1929, I contracted Gulf fever. We went at once to the country, my wife to applaud while I started out to overtake Walter Hagen. Liquor caught up with me much faster than I came up behind Walter. I began to be jittery in the morning. Golf permitted drinking every day and every night. It was fun to carom around the exclusive course which had inspired such awe in me as a lad. I acquired the impeccable coat of tan one sees upon the well-to-do. The local banker watched me whirl fat checks in and out of his till with assumed skepticism, amused skepticism. Abruptly in October 1929, hell broke loose on the New York Stock Exchange. After one of those days of inferno, I wobbled from a hotel bar to a brokerage office. It was 8 o'clock, 5 hours after the market closed. The ticker still chattered. I was staring at an inch of the tape which bore the inscription XYZ-32. It had been 52 that morning. I was finished, and so were my friends. The papers reported men jumping out to death from the towers of high finance. That disgusted me. I would not jump. I went back to the bar. My friends had dropped several million since 10 o'clock, so tomorrow is another day. As I drank, the old fierce determination to win came back. Next morning, I telephoned a friend in Montreal. He had plenty of money left and thought I had better go to Canada. By the following spring, we were living in our accustomed style. I felt like Napoleon returning from Elba. No St. Helena for me, but drinking caught up with me again, and my generous friend had to let me go. This time we stayed broke. We went to live with my wife's parents. I found a job, then lost it as a result of a brawl with a taxi driver. Mercifully, no one could guess that I was to have no real employment for 5 years, or hardly draw a sober breath. My wife began to work in a department store, coming home exhausted to find me drunk. I became an unwelcome hanger-on at brokerage places. Liquor ceased to be a luxury. It had become a necessity. Bathtub gin, 2 bottles a day, and often 3, got to be routine. Sometimes a small deal would net a few $100s, and I would pay my bills at the bars and delicatessens. This went on endlessly, and I began to awaken very early in the morning, shaking vigorously, violently. A tumbler full of gin, followed by half a dozen bottles of beer, would be required if I would eat any breakfast. Nevertheless, I still thought I could control the situation, and there were periods of sobriety which renewed my wife's hope. Gradually, things got worse. The house was taken over by the mortgage holder. My mother-in-law died. My wife and father-in-law became ill. Then I got a promising business opportunity. Stocks were at the low point of 1932, and I had somehow formed a group to buy. I was to share generously in the profits. Then I went on a prodigious bender, and that chance vanished. I woke up. This had to be stopped. I saw I could not take so much as one drink. I was through forever. Before then, I had written lots of sweet promises, but my wife happily observed that this time I'm in business. And so I did. Shortly afterward, I came home drunk. There had been no fight. Where had been my high resolve? I simply didn't know. I hadn't even come to mind. It hadn't even come to mind. Somehow, or someone had pushed a drink my way, and I had taken it. Was I crazy? I begin to wonder, for such an appalling lack of perspective seemed near being just that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Art. And now, folks, we will go back to where Art started reading tonight, and I will ask the questions. Trish will be coming in with comments tonight, and there's almost as many comments as there are questions. So we have a lot of packed things for thought tonight. So our batting order tonight is going to be Pinky, Zane, Padawan Pickle, William, and our friend Lynn. Welcome to the rotation. So all of you can go ahead and unmute, please. Your hands may drop, but that's okay. I wrote down your names and I'll remember it after the first couple of times through. And we're going to kick it off with Pinky. How often was Bill drinking?
My drinking assumed more serious proportions, continuing all day and almost every night.
Thank you.
Did you drink that way?
And Pinky, you're going to have to yell at us like you're mad at us. For some reason, your volume's a little low. Zane, what did Bill's friends think of his drinking?
Remonstrances?
Remonstrances.
Wait, what?
Remonstrances.
Remonstrances. The remonstrances of my friends terminated in a row, and I became a lone wolf.
Did you lose friends because of your drinking?
Nicole, was Bill's relationship with Lois going well?
There were many unhappy scenes in our sumptuous apartment.
Did your drinking cause some discontent in your family?
William, was Bill faithful to Lois?
There has been no real infidelity or loyalty to my wife. Helped at times by extreme drunkenness. Kept me out of those streets.
Thank you. And Lynn, we're going to kick you off with a good one. What sporting activity did Bill become interested in? 2 sentences, please.
Well, I know it's golf, but I don't know where you're reading from.
It's going to be on page 3. And let's see, my drinking assumed, the remonstrances, there were...
Last paragraph, 1929.
Yeah. In 1929, I contracted golf fever.
Okay. Yes, in 1929, I contracted golf fever. You said it's 2 sentences?
Yep, keep going.
We went at once to the country, my wife to applaud while I started out to overtake Walter Hagen.
Perfect, thank you. And just keep following along line by line. You'll catch on to this in no time. And,
okay, I get it.
And Pinky, coming back to you, did he prove to be a better golfer? Let me try that again. Did he prove to do better at golf or at drinking?
Liquor caught up with me much faster than I came up behind Walter.
Thank you. And Zane, how did Bill feel in the morning?
I began to be jittery in the morning.
Thank you.
Did you ever feel that way?
Numerous times. Nicole, did it appear that Bill had the ability to make things happen in his life? 3 sentences, please.
Golf permitted drinking every day and every night. It was fun to caroom around the exclusive course which had inspired such awe in me as a lad. I acquired the impeccable code of a tan one sees upon the well-to-do.
Thank you. And William, had Bill become financially successful?
The local bankers watched me whirl fat checks in and out of his till with abused skepticism.
Thank you. And Lynn, what happened in 1929 that had a great impact on the lives of many people? 6 sentences ending with that morning.
Abruptly in October 1929, hell broke loose on the New York Stock Exchange. After one of those days infernal, I wobbled from a hotel bar to a brokerage office. It was 8 o'clock, 5 hours after the market had closed. The ticker still clattered. I was staring at an inch of tape which bore the inscription XYZ-32. It had been 52 that morning.
Perfect.
I was
Nope,
sorry.
that's it.
The stock dropped from positive 52 in the morning to negative 32 at closing, dropping 80 points. This was the crash at the beginning of the Great Depression.
Thank you. And Pinky, coming back to you, did it have an impact on Bill?
I was finished, and so were many friends.
Thank you. Zane, how were some reacting to their great losses?
The papers reported men jumping from the death. The papers reported men jumping to the death from the towers of high finance.
Thank you. Nicole, what did Bill think about what they had done?
That disgusted me.
Thank you. William, what was his solution to his losses? 2 sentences, please.
I would not jump. I went back to the bar.
Thank
My
you.
friend had
Nope,
okay.
that's it. Short sentences.
What did you do after your great losses?
And Lynn, coming to you, what was his attitude about the great tragedy? 2 sentences.
My friends had dropped several million since 10 o'clock. So what? Tomorrow was another day.
Perfect. Pinky, coming back to you. As he drank, did it change the way he thought and the way he felt?
As I drank, the old fierce determination to win came back.
Very good. Thank you. Zane, where did he go for another chance? 2 sentences.
Next morning, I telephoned a friend in Montreal. He had plenty of money left and thought I had better go to Canada.
Thank you, sir. Nicole, was he successful there?
By the following spring, we were living in our accustomed style.
Thank you. William, who was it he felt like? 2 sentences.
I felt like Napoleon returning from Elba. No St. Helena for me.
Thank you. And Lynn, his first big failure was because of the stock market crash. What was the cause of his failure this time? 2 sentences.
But drinking caught up with me again, and my generous friend had to let me go. This time we stayed broke.
Excellent. Pinky, where did he and Lois go then?
We went to live with my wife's parents.
Thank you. Zane, how did he lose his job?
I found a job, then I lost it as a result of a brawl with a taxi driver.
Do you think that drinking played a part in this brawl?
Could be. Nicole, 2-part question. A, how long did he go without gainful employment? And B, how was he doing with his drinking?
Mercifully, no one could guess that I was to have no real employment for 5 years, or hardly draw a sober breath.
Is this still Bill's pride and ego?
Thank you, Trish. William, 2-part question. Who supported the family financially, and what was Lois's reward for a hard day's work?
My wife began to work at a department store. Coming home exhausted to find me drunk.
Thank you.
Drunk.
And Lynn, were Bill's business associates happy to see him?
I became an unwelcome hanger-on at brokerage places.
Perfect. Alyssa, what had liquor become to Bill?
Liquor ceased to be a luxury. It became a necessity.
Do you suppose he hid his liquor? Maybe lied about his drinking? Sneak drinks? Have you ever done any of these things? Do moderate drinkers do these kind of things?
Zane, two-part question. A, what was Bill's drinking? And B, how much was Bill drinking?
Bathtub gin, 2 bottles a day, and often 3. Got to be routine.
Thank you very much. Nicole, what would Bill do with any extra money?
Sometimes a small deal would net a few $100s, and I would pay my bills at the bars and the delicatessens.
Do you think Bill drank on credit at bars and delicatessens so Lois would not know how much he was drinking, and then pay them off so he could continue drinking there? How often did we scramble to pay our bar tabs so we could keep drinking?
And William, how did Bill awaken?
This went on in yes, and I began to awaken very early in the morning, shaking violent.
Thank you. Lynn, what did... Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, say that again, Trish.
Did you ever wake up this way, shaking violently?
Over and over again. Lynn, what did Bill have to do?
A tumbler full of gin followed by a half a dozen bottles of beer would be required if I were to eat my breakfast.
Thank you.
Did you ever have to do this? Is it delirium tremens, the physical signs of alcoholism?
Yes and yes.
Pinky, coming to you. Two-part question. A, at this point, did Bill think he had a problem? And B, what gave Lois hope?
Nevertheless, I still thought I could control the situation, and there were periods of sobriety which renewed my wife's hope.
Is this really sobriety or just abstinence? Did you ever have a run of bad luck and think it was somebody else's fault? Causes and conditions.
Zane, did things get better for Bill? 2 sentences.
Gradually, things got worse. The house was taken over by the mortgage holder. My mother-in-law died, and my wife and father-in-law became ill.
Did things get better for you?
Nick, did Bill have another chance in the business world?
Then I got a promising business opportunity.
William, what kind of deal did Bill put together? Say that 3 times real quick.
Okay, stock was at the lowest point of 1950.
Oh, yep, that's it. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Stock was at the lowest point in 1932, and I had somehow formed a group to buy.
Thank you. I was looking at the wrong line. See, I get confused too, folks. Lynn, what was his motivation for this deal?
I was to share generously in the profits.
Thank you. Pinky, coming back to you. Why did it not prove successful?
Then I went on a prodigious bender, and that chance vanished.
Thank you. Zane, as a result of this episode, what did Bill come to realize? 4 sentences.
I woke up. This had to be stopped. I saw I could not take as much one more drink. I was through forever.
Thank you. And Padawan Pickle, another 2-part question. A, what had he done prior to this time? And B, was Bill really serious this time? 2 sentences.
Before then, I had written lots of sweet promises, but my wife happily observed that this time I meant business, and so I did.
Have you ever been really serious about staying stopped?
And William, coming to you, young man, how well did he manage his decision? 4 sentences.
Shortly afterward, I came home drunk. There had been no fight. Where had been my high resolves? I simply did not know.
Thank you.
How well did you manage your decision? Is it the unmanageability of step 1 after the dash? Why? Because we get hung up on that damn dash.
Boy, don't we. Lynn, did he make a conscious decision to take a drink?
It hadn't even come to mind.
Have you ever found yourself drunk and couldn't remember taking that first drink?
Pinky, coming back to you, what did his appalling lack of perspective make him wonder? Read the rest of the paragraph.
Someone had pushed a drink my way, and I had taken it. Was I crazy? I began to wonder, for such an appalling lack of perspective seemed near being just that.
Do we notice the powerlessness and unmanageability of Bill's disease? Can we see the progression of his disease? Have you ever experienced some of these things yourself? Page 24, in italics, the fact box. The fact is that most alcoholics, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in drink. Our so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent. We are unable at certain times to bring into our consciousness with sufficient force the memory of the suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago. We are without defense against the first drink.
Thank you so much, everybody. Well done. Everybody can drop their hands, remute, and those with a burning desire, and I hope that it is bountiful tonight, please raise your hands and come on in, because this meeting belongs to you. Ah, it's the dental chair, huh? Too much Halloween candy? Is that the problem? It's okay, we'll practice that second moment of meditation. Anybody ever drink like Bill? Okay, toe tapping.
Hey everybody, I'm Trish, I'm an alcoholic. And just the first couple of sentences, I didn't drink all day and almost every single night like he did. But I definitely lost friends from my drinking. And my drinking did cause a lot of discontent in the family. Partly with my drinking, but mostly due to my lies about my drinking. And those lies continued throughout a good portion of my sobriety because I didn't feel like I was supported by my family, and come to realize that they didn't even realize or remember the conversation we had about the fact that I was coming into AA. But the feeling jittery in the morning, yep. A lot of the actions and how he drank may not be part of my story, but a lot of the feelings, the pride and the ego, definitely a lot of the feelings are the same. Because, I had to make sure that I was still looking and acting on the outside, like everybody expected that I was going to. Because I couldn't let them know I was suffering. I couldn't let them know I was falling down that hole and that I wasn't able to get out of. And I just had to make everybody think that I was okay. Pride and ego, absolutely. Hiding drinking, lying about my drinking, a lot of it applies. And even though physically I may not have drank as much as he did, the feelings are definitely all there, and I can see so much of myself in his drinking. And we have a hand now, so I'm going to stop.
Thank you. Kenny, good evening, my friend. Come on in. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kenny. I'm an alcoholic. Did I drink like Bill? I drank like Bill and other things. I remember I would get credit from the store, and I would have to pay back double come when my check day came. And I would do this every month, you know, and I would never have my money would never last the way it should have lasted because I couldn't manage, you know. This went on and on and on, and I just lost control. I would go to detox, go to rehab, come back, and give in all of a sudden, and I would go back to the same routine. I would go to the bodega. They would give me credit. I would take the credit. I would drink, use other substances. I would be out of control, out of my mind. I would lose weight. I wouldn't eat. I didn't care about eating. And I didn't have much of a life then, you know. And when I think about that life awaits me even worse if I should pick up again. And that pretty much helps me, you know, knowing that I'm cured, but I'm not well. I don't know how to say it. I just know I can't drink, you know. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, my friend. So glad you are with us this evening. Always a joy to have you with us and be part of the group. Xavier, our traditionalist, welcome, my friend.
Hey, good evening, family. Xavier, alcoholic. So glad to be here. Happy Halloween, everyone. We've been giving out candy and listening to the meeting. To trick-or-treaters. Even though it's snowing here, so it's kind of cool. Or did snow. So Bill's story, I always relate to Bill really in the beginning, especially. I always want to party with him because he seemed like a really fun guy. Like, he drank the way I like to drink. He parties the way I like to party. I was ex-military. I studied economics, you know, went to law school. Thought I wanted to conquer the world, and I just really relate to, like, his bravado, his, like, carefree, cocksureness attitude. I love it all. I love Bill, and I really, really relate to him. And then it was interesting, like, how slowly in the story you see that alcohol starts to take away things. It takes away things. As it progresses, it's such a progressive disease. And he could do less and less and less and less. And I really relate to that. I also relate to in the beginning when he was, like, mocking people who would commit suicide when the Wall Street crashed. And then he was suicidal, you know, towards the end of his alcoholism, and the irony, you know, as he lost so much and his disease continued to progress. So I really relate to that. I mean, I had a lot of my demons. I've been on the psych ward over 30 times, hit a lot of bottoms. And lastly, you know, I really relate to what I like to call step zero, where that I finally realized that I didn't know what the solution was, but I knew there was no solution and I was probably going to die. For me, that was crucial, like beyond crucial, to have that, like, really sad moment. And I'll leave it at that, but it's an amazing story and I always relate to it. And if that's okay, my much better looking and smarter half is going to share. Christine.
Absolutely. Hi, Christine. Welcome, sister. Good to see ya.
How are you guys doing? Oh, Christine, alcoholic. Yeah, I love Bill's story too. I could also relate to just having so much fun and just loving booze and thinking life's great until it wasn't. And I like the beginning part where it has that the tombstone that he's reading in the graveyard, and the thing about the guy dying from musket or from pot, and it's like, so it's really true. Like, I think there was this way about drinking where it was like, well, if you're alcoholic, oh well. If you die from it, that happens. It just, I think like when you drink, that's just how you think of it. So when I always knew I was an alcoholic. I just never really knew that I could find a way to not drink one day at a time because I could never do it on my own. So I assumed there was no one else that could show me that or do it for me. So, anyways, I was just at my mom's here the other day reading the newspaper and I looked at the obituaries and I couldn't believe it. It was like a 28-year-old person, a 50-year-old person, and I'm guessing it's probably a drug and alcohol related, it's like vague, they died in their sleep at 28. And, it's like, really, it's kind of strange. But, it's like a disease that, tells us we don't have a disease. So it's easy to forget that it's out there and it kills a lot of people. And so I know it's fatal for me, and that's why I keep coming back, and I'm grateful to be here. So happy Halloween, and thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, my friend. Always a joy to have you with us. We will see you soon. Enjoy the kids.
Thanks, Jake.
Nancy, come on in, my friend. What a joy to see you.
Good to be here. Hi, everyone. My name is Nancy, and I'm a recovered alcoholic. And I, too, could identify with the loss of friends. Yeah, when I drank obsessively, and I got sick every time. And my drinking was in my teens and early 20s. And I get together with my high school friends every once in a while, and you know what they remember? They remember Nancy drinking and throwing up in Friendly's parking lot, and we had to hold your hair away from your face, and that's how they remember me. And I was a blackout drinker, and I wasn't fun. I was not fun. I didn't know that alcohol. I didn't know why. I didn't know why I was getting sick. I didn't know why when I picked up that first drink that it was a progressive thing, and I just didn't know. And I used alcohol. I had a million excuses. Am I going out? Am I sad? Am I glad? Whatever it was. It was just looking for an excuse to drink and not really knowing how to cope with life. So I definitely, each time I read this story, I can identify with the progression. I can identify with the damage that it does to family, friends. I just became nothing. And the blackouts were terrible, and the guilt, shame, and remorse the next morning was terrible. And I came in, I was brought into the program by the grace of God, and I was 27 years old, and thank you, God, for Alcoholics Anonymous. And like the last speaker said, I can't do this by myself, and I learned something every time I go through these steps. I'm reminded of this disease and how it affects myself and the people around me, and I know there's a lot of yets out there for me. I know there's a lot of yets out there, which I needed to hear when I came in here. You're eligible too, and all the things in this chapter that have not happened could happen if I were to pick up another drink. So I'm grateful to be here tonight, and it's nice to read this chapter again. Thank you.
Wonderful to see you, my friend. Always a joy. Lynn, welcome, my friend. Thank you for your participation tonight as well.
Hey, good evening from New England. I'm Lynn. I'm an alcoholic. And Nancy, at the start of the meeting, I thought you just needed to dye your roots. I didn't realize there was a spider on you. Oh. Yes, relating to Bill's story, I could so totally relate. I was a late bloomer in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm going to be celebrating 21 months of sobriety next week, and why, thank you. And I was blessed to have gone into a recovery program prior to this. That I thought I was going into that program just to stop, to learn how to drink responsibly. And I think that's the vision of every alcoholic that doesn't know they're really an alcoholic, because others told me that I wasn't really an alcoholic. But I didn't even know what an alcoholic was until I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. And through this program, understanding it's a progressive illness, everything they say in the Bill story is so true. It turned out to be drinking times at those times, but then when drinking became an absolute necessity to survive a day, I knew that was a problem. And I'll get into that on some other share as to why I didn't seek help sooner. But the shaking and the need to just have that drink just to get through is the worst feeling ever. And the other aha moment getting into this program was understanding that I could never drink again ever. And as one of my friends in another meeting says, it's not that you can never drink ever, you just can't drink today. And if you look at it that way, it doesn't sound quite as ominous, but the sober life has really just been wonderful for me, and for that I'll be ever grateful to Alcoholics Anonymous. And yes, I do wish I could party along with Bill. If I could rewind the clock a little bit, he certainly seems to be a cool guy, and I can definitely relate to how he drank and see similarities in just about everything that we read today. Thanks again.
Thank you, my friend. Always a joy to see you, and I'm so glad you have joined us on this journey. Zane, my brother from another country, I'm so glad you're able to come in from the other side of the world and join us. Come on in.
Thanks, Jamie, and thanks everyone for your service and coming from the future. Zane, alcoholic. I could relate to a lot of Bill's story. Similarities, I guess, about paying the bills with the bars and the delicatessens. I didn't really go to the pub. It was too expensive for me because most of the time I didn't work because I couldn't hold a job. So I was just on a benefit, on welfare, and I managed to get an account at the local dairy, which is kind of like the convenience store. I don't know what you used to call it over there. Yeah, they didn't have beer in those days, back in the early sort of late 90s, early 2000s, but they had wine. So I could get wine, and they were kind enough to book it to me. But my account was I'd always have to pay it every week just so I could get more, Or I had friends that had brewed home brew, like bathtub gin, I guess. And we were able to get that for $20 a bottle. We were able to get that on credit, so we were always in debt. I remember we were in a studio, and there was about 4 of us that we just all lived together. We all lived there, and we would put all our benefits together, and we would just drink every day for like, I don't know how long I was there. It was just one big blackout, really. I always drunk to blackout, and just it was crazy. No food. We wouldn't buy any food because all the money would go back into the alcohol. Eventually, I think I just got sick, and I managed to escape somehow. I don't know how, but I did. I think I went back to my parents, got my mum to bail me out, as I always did. But then I just thought, oh, well, I'll just go back, maybe I'll just smoke weed, because I didn't have a problem with that. I didn't black out on weed. And then I had the same scenario there with a dealer, and I'd have to pick up every week. I'd have to, go and pay my bill just to get more, and just get stuck in that vicious cycle. I'm just so blessed I don't have to live like that today. I guess my higher powers got me out of that. Losing the house, I've lost many houses. Not that I've owned a house, but getting evicted from houses for not paying the rent, as the rent, on the booze or the drugs or the gambling or whatever it was. So yeah, definitely relate to all that. And the self-sabotage, the prodigious being things are going well, and celebrate a bit early, and just stuff everything up. Yeah, relationships and friendships and everything can definitely relate to, but yeah, and just grateful to have found this Alcoholics Anonymous program, to be sober today, and to be able to deal with life on life's terms. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. So grateful you were here. I have a request, Pinky. Where is your pickle? You have to show us your pickle if you are going to share. It is a requirement. Because she's so cute. Very cool. Come on in, Alyssa. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
The pickle fairy has visited you.
Here's my original Pinky that I've had for 3 years. Yeah. Whenever you got yours, that's how long I've had mine. All right. Alyssa, recovered alcoholic. Thank you for letting me be of service, and thank you everybody for being of service and being here tonight. So there was a lot in Bill's drink like Bill, and that's just really scary to think about today. So I'm really lucky to be alive. And the progression of the disease and how quickly I went to any lengths to get alcohol. I didn't have charge accounts. I would steal money from my dad when I lived with him. And then from the store, that's where my disease had taken me. And then, losing everything, I was never homeless, thank God. But I lost friends, I lost family. Some of them, which my 13-year-old daughter, today I'm staying sober, and my goal is to, see her again. But I'm taking it one day at a time. And I'm thankful for what I have today in my sobriety. And that is my 3-year-old and my 6-year-old. I have my family. I have, God has put people in my life today that, because I never really had a good relationship with my mom, I may talk to her once or twice a year, which, being here, I have a mom, and I have a friend who's like my sister, and she's an aunt to my kids, and her dad is the papa to my kids, and so I'm thankful for that, because that's what sobriety gave me, because my active addiction took a lot away, and that's losing my oldest didn't keep me sober. But I did it today because that was my self-will. I can't stay sober on my own will. I have to have God. And, you know, I trust in Him that, you know, I just leave that to Him because all I need to do is the next right thing. I need to be in the moment that I'm in, and I need to take care of what's right in front of me. Yes, do I want to strive to get her back? Absolutely. But, you know, I have to keep God in my sobriety first because anything I put before those two, that's going to be the first thing I lose. And I can say that because I've experienced it. The material things don't matter to me. Those things are replaceable. People are not. And that's a hard lesson. But you know, I understand today why I couldn't do it. And I'm so thankful that I have this program, and that I have the people that He's put in my life to help me work this program, to help me have a better understanding of my disease in this book. Because all the answers are right here in this book. And that's my experience. And, you know, there's a lot that I can relate to with Bill. And, you know, I'm glad I don't have to relate to him today on those levels. At least specifically in the parts that we've read so far. Because there's other good stuff that I can relate to today with him, but we haven't gotten there yet. So, thank you for letting me share. I love you all. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Alyssa. So grateful you're here. William, come on in, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is William Alcoholic. Glad to be here tonight. Whenever we read it, like Bill's story shared, people shared, and I get a chance to reflect about how I was when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, and definitely I identify with a lot of it. What he was talking about his drinking career. And the old time used to say some stuff, man, so to teach you how to identify, you know, and who taught me how to identify, they would say stuff like this. Alcoholism is an equal opportunity disease. It don't care if you're from Yale or jail. It don't care if you're from Park Avenue or Park Bench and stuff like that, you know. So I was very confused when I got here about alcoholism. And they had so many sayings. One, they say, and I thought I had willpower, right? So I used to always talk about my willpower because I had grew up. I tell you, when I go back with my classmate, we go back and we talk. We all was poor, so we didn't know. We didn't know we were poor. We just ate every day and did what we needed to do. So through that, I had gained some materialistic things and stuff, and I thought it was because of my willpower that I had gained these things and stuff. So they used to say something like, when it comes to alcoholism, this is what this is. They gave me an example of willpower when it comes to alcoholism. It's like taking a ball of X-Lax, you know, and trying to control your bowel movement. So all this stuff began to ring a bell in my head and began to show me it is, you know. But one thing, a lot that he said, when I got my bills and stuff got behind, I stopped drinking for months. 3 or 4 months, and I would reward myself whenever I stopped drinking. I get everything caught up, and I do the same thing over and over again. You know, I kept repeating the same insanity. You know, and definitely the part where and when I came, they was telling me, to stay away from people, places, and things and stuff. And I'm saying to myself, I said, no, these people longer than I know you. You know, you can't tell me to stay away from these people. You know, that's what I'm saying in my head. And I'm a practical person. I'll go right back in the bar. As soon as I walk back in the bar, they call me Sandman. They just ask the bartender, what's Sandman drinking? And I didn't intend to drink. I was going to sit in that bar, suck up anything I could out of there. but I wasn't gonna drink. And soon as I sit there, somebody look over at me and they say, ask the bartender, so what's some man drinking? And they say, club soda, orange juice, and somebody said, give him a drink on me. And just like that, I'd be off to the races, and I would say, I picked up that drink, I might as well get good and drunk, and that's what it was, So I definitely identify with those points of sobriety, point of being sober without drinking, But it wouldn't. In this part right here, you say I still thought I could control the situation, and there was a period of sobriety which renewed my his wife hope, but renewed my hope that I could do this, But once I came here, that they began to tell me not to drink, and I couldn't understand that. But literally, and they told me to help me, And that's one thing that I never do, because always before I was came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was trying to do everything by myself, So they was beginning to say, show up to the meeting, let us show you how we do it. We'll help you stay sober. And in the process of doing that, I began to get a higher power of my understanding, and know that and believe that I was an alcoholic. I remember being in the room. It took me 18 months to really to stay sober, sitting in the room. I remember being in the room and raising my hand saying, I'm an alcoholic. Alcoholic. Everybody was saying, but I never accepted. When I accepted that, I began to do something about it, and allow y'all to do something, to teach me how to do something about it, So for that, I'm grateful today, and life is good, and I'm glad to be here, I don't have that, I hit an emotion, a real hard emotion. Physically, I can take care of myself. But mentally, I hit a hard emotions spot there, and I thought suicide was the way. He said he wouldn't. I remember one time I got a terrace right outside this door right here on the side of me, right? And one time I was thinking about jumping. I walked out onto my terrace. I looked down, I live up on the 11th floor. I looked down at the ground, and I had to crawl myself back inside the apartment because I just knew something was going to happen. I was going to fall off, But I'm grateful to God today that I'm sober today, and life is beautiful, man, without a drink, man. Thank y'all for helping me and showing me that, So thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you, my friend. God bless. Pickle chips.
Hi, I'm Terry Pickle Chips, your recovered alcoholic, and I might have to keep it real short because it's almost 6 my time, and the trick-or-treaters are starting to come. So, and we get a lot in my neighborhood. So I didn't drink anything like Bill, but what we do have in common is that part of our brain that just won't let us not drink. That urge, or that, we just have to have it. And a lot of you don't know me, but I was a daily drinker. And every single day for about 5 years, I would say, today, I won't have a drink. Just today. I won't drink. And I couldn't do it. I'd walk into the house and not even do any. I'd go straight to the refrigerator and have a beer or two. I had to. And I'd say, okay, I'll do it again tomorrow. And then after many years of this, I didn't even have one day that I could put together. And then after a few years, I started adding other things to the menu because that wasn't working for me anymore. And I couldn't stop. And I wanted to die. Every day I wanted to die. Every day. So that's how alcohol gripped me. And only by the grace of God, a true miracle, did I manage to put some days together. Because I don't know how that happened, but it did. I know my higher power did that for me. and I have some years under my belt now, and I don't even want to drink. But one thing I wanted to share is I do my little part-time retired job is I serve alcohol, and the 24-ounce beer is $15.50, and cocktails are about $15. So I would have been up a creek if I was drinking today. And I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day, so they're up to $12. So I don't know what I would have done. I'd be a deep doo-doo, that's for sure, because I had to drink. So anyway, I just wanted to share that and how grateful I am that I don't have to drink anymore. Thanks. Happy Halloween.
Thank you, Terry. Grateful you're here, my friend. Thank you for being of service. Hi, family. My name's Jamie. Very grateful, recovered alcoholic. Grateful that all of you are with us. And I always say this, you guys are primary purpose. This meeting doesn't work without you. And those of you who are new to us, we are very glad to have you. And I hope you find a home here with us. Reading Bill's story always makes me reflect on my journey of life. And though I started drinking when I was 10, started drinking on a daily basis when I was 13. And the progression was already well instilled in me by the time I was out on my own and living on my own when I was 17, married at 18 with a child, and divorced by the time I was 19. And there was a time that I moved back into Mom's house, and it was work and go to the bar, and I'm underage. And the owner of the bar knew I was underage. I was 19 years old. She had me sitting at the door checking cards and keeping people from walking out with beers. Boy, you know, the party was on. I had arrived. And that went on for a long time. And then, you know, I got in another relationship, and I went to work, and I'm drinking every day, and drinking was a problem in the relationship, so I stopped for a while. Not a long while. And then they came out. Anybody remember 8-ounce cans of beer, which came in 8 packs? Well, boy, there was my justification. I bought an 8-pack, and it's only 8 ounces. It can't hurt me, right? And it just goes to show that it's not how much we drink. I'll only have 2, babe. Really, that's all I'll have. And of course, the 2 ended up being the whole 8-pack being consumed. Not the first day, not the second day, but within short order, that became a regular thing. And you know, bouncing back and forth a couple of jobs. I was a machinist then. Every good machinist has a whiskey bottle stashed in his mechanic's toolbox. It's a machinist law, you know, right? It's in the drawer right next to the machinist Bible, which is you know, the book that tells you how to do everything. And then, you know, apartment losses, relationship losses, all those things. Sometimes bars, always home drinking. And then that crash of losing everything, not paying the bills, because drinking always takes precedence. And you always pay the bar bill before you pay anything. And then I remember I went back to live at Mom's for a while. Mom's got 5 other kids. And so I pitch a tent in Mom's backyard. A family tent, a nice big one. And I've got a TV and a couple of guitars and a king-size bed, and I'm styling. I mean, it was pretty cool. And I was playing music in a band and stuff. But I was just still a trashy drunk. You know, and that went on, gosh, another 10, 11, 12 years. Yeah, I had jobs, I lost jobs, had apartments, lost apartments, had relationships, lost relationships. What we see here is we see the progression of Bill's disease. And as I sit here and tell the story, I see the progression of my disease. I really didn't become suicidal and want to die until the end. I know what gunmetal tastes like. I can still taste it today. But I couldn't pull the trigger. And I always say, no, I wasn't suicidal until this point. However, I drank and drove every day of my life for 18 years. Now, I was asked this question, getting behind the wheel of a vehicle under the influence, don't you think that's suicidal and homicidal? There was no way of getting out of that question. Yes, suicidal and homicidal every day, all day long. Whether it's suicidal thoughts of I want to end it all now or not. And you know, there were those typical things like go to the bar and you know, you're dancing and expecting to go home with somebody and you don't go home with somebody, so you're driving 100 miles an hour down the road because you're mad. You know, or because she went home with somebody else, whatever. It's just all alcoholic behavior. So grateful that I finally hit a bottom. But that bottom had to come in my disease, taking me to places where I became paralyzed when I laid down. That's when I knew. That was my point of surrender. And at the last couple of years was in a bar, and it was drinking and a whole bunch of other non-conference approved substances, and I ran the pool tournaments, so I drank for free, and or if I didn't, you know, all I needed was enough money for 2 beers and 2 games of pool, and I could drink all day long. I am so grateful that I no longer live that lifestyle. My drinking took me to the same kind of bottoms that Bill's did. And it's only through COVID, it's only through Zoom meetings that I recognize where Bill had his great white light spiritual experience moment. Mine came like this. After an 18-day run of drinking a whole bunch of non-conference approved substances that were specifically to allow me to do more drinking, and enough food to sustain bodily functions, and I really wasn't living, I was just kind of hiding out somewhere. You know, the kind of place when you hear a vehicle, you peek out the curtains to make sure nobody's looking for you. And when I finally laid down and I became paralyzed, here's what happened to me. I knew I couldn't do it anymore. Step 1. I knew I needed help right then and there. Step 2. And I changed the words from the infamous bailout prayer of I'll never do it again to I will do anything. Step 3, right then and there. And I didn't even realize I was doing them. I didn't realize it until I started sharing that in Zoom meetings over the last 3 years. That was actually my 1, 2, and 3 before ever coming to Alcoholics Anonymous. Of course, coming to the program and learning about those steps certainly has given me much different perspective. But as I look into all of your faces tonight, all of you who I've come to love and know so dearly, and some of you I'm sure I'll get to know. Art's the one I've known longer than any. Here's a consideration if we ask it to ourselves. Are not all of us here tonight by our own choice? Not because somebody told us we had to be here, but of our own free will? Because at some point in time, alcohol had taken us to that place of point of no return. And we knew whatever we were doing wasn't working for us. Bill's story, the doctor's opinion, Bill's story, there is a solution, the chapter after this. And more about alcoholism are all about the diagnosis of step 1. 51 pages in all. This book has more pages dedicated to the first step than to any other part of the process. Could that possibly be? Because without a thorough understanding of our condition, we just might not surrender. We probably won't make it. And it doesn't matter what other steps we try. We are destined to fail without a solid first step. Within the next couple of weeks, we are going to watch Bill take his first step, second step, and move into his third. What a magnificent process it is. I hope that each and every person who visits this can find them a little part of themselves, maybe not everything, but just a little part of themselves in everything that we study in this. Thank you. God bless. You ready to read us out, Trish?
Yeah. From page 164 of our book. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Thank you so much, Trish. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us tonight. Please come back and join us, and we have 3 or 4 other meetings throughout the week. Come join our family on the journey. We're all here because somebody else prayed for us. We have a fatal, deadly disease. And maybe while alcohol hasn't killed us, chances are we know somebody that it has. There will be 263 alcoholics who die in this country tonight, 95,000 this year, and 3 million worldwide. And sadly, some of them have been to Alcoholics Anonymous and didn't want what we have to offer. So let's take a moment of silence for those who are sick and suffering, and then we will circle up like we generally do with our little mitts in the screen so we can virtually hold hands, and we'll pray out with the Lord's Prayer. Here's your moment. Thank you. Who will take us from shame to grace if we let him? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in the heavens. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thanks so much, folks. For those of you who would like to stick around and share, you can do so. I'm stopping